Hello, Lens Legends, and welcome to the Portrait Profit Show. My name is Jim Landers, and it's my mission to uplift portrait photographers to make a great income doing what they love. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. For Digital Pro Lab, I'm going to put them up on the screen real quick. There we go. For Digital Pro Lab, Amanda and her amazing, wonderful team are going to make you look like a hero. If you haven't worked with digitalprolab.com to do your printing and other things, you are missing out. Go to digitalprolab.com so you can see the difference the Digital Pro Lab can make. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. And of course, for Landers Photography School, that's me. I teach both the photography side and the business side, mostly the business side nowadays. But I help photographers make a great income doing what they love, starting with a strong foundation and building from there. Reach out to me at Jim@Landers Photo School, or even better, take advantage of my free 15-minute private session. Just do a screenshot right now of the page, but or write down calendly.com/photo school /15min. 15min. I'll leave that up just for a second so you can write that down. And then I'm going to take that off. All right. I want you guys to go to the comments right now and enter in hashtag live. Hashtag live. That causes me to know that you're watching us live right now on either Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube. We're simulcast to several different places. For those who are watching the replay, will you enter in hashtag replay? That's hashtag replay. But everybody else is watching right now, enter in hashtag live. So I've got one request of you. We don't charge anything for the Portrait Profit Show. We put a lot of time and effort into it, but it's free. I ask one form of payment, and that's to share the Portrait Profit Show. That's it. Let other people know. It's open to everybody, not just students of Landers Photography School. It's open to everybody across the world. We've got people watching from all the way from India, so all over the place. But the only way that people know about it is because you let them know about it. Click that share button and invite others to the show to help us build a brighter future by uplifting all photographers. The discussion today, well, it isn't about business systems or marketing strategies like it normally is. This discussion is about the deep significance of what we do and the raw emotions when loss occurs. As portrait photographers, our work doesn't stop when the images are delivered, whether that's digital files or printed portraits. The photographs we create become part of a family's story. They're woven into their lives, into their memories. Long after we're gone, and even after those that we photographed during our career have passed, our portraits are one of the few things that remain. It's proof of love, proof of connection, proof of a life well lived. That's what we do as photographers. Our process includes light and composition, but our work, well, that's love, connection, and legacy. We don't take pictures. We create echoes of life. We preserve feelings. We anchor memories. We keep people alive in the hearts of those who remain. That is the weight of this work. This is the extraordinary power we hold. And if you've ever wondered why I call my audience Lens Legends, well, it's because you are the pedestal that allows others to be lifted up. Let's bring on our panelists for today. I'm going to bring two of the three are here right now. Maybe the third one will show up. And I'll tell you real quickly, the third one told me that he was going to be volunteering. you probably know the reason why we're doing this show today because of recent tragic events in the Texas Hill Country. Um, uh, two of the three panelists are volunteers. One of them told me he was going to be volunteering right up to the last second, and he is not here right now. Oh, he just sent me a message. He said, "Sorry, just got home." So I guess he'll be on here in just a little bit. But the two that we have right now, bring them on. I've got Cecilia and Trisha. Let's bring them on. There they are. How you guys? How you
Hi.
doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Doing good.
I'm so glad that you made time for this one today. I mean, this was different from my norm. I'm usually giving people tips on marketing or how to talk when they're on the phone, or how to form their foundation so they know they're on the right path. Totally different story today, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give each one of you a moment to introduce yourselves here in just a second. And so the way I'm going to do that is going to take you guys off the screen and then bring you back on one at a time. So let me start with Trisha. And so Cecilia, I'm going to take you off, but I'll bring you right back. Let's see. There we go. So, Trisha, can you tell
Hi.
us a little bit about who you are, what you do, maybe some philosophies, but don't share too much because we've got some questions where you get to share that.
Okay, gotcha. So I am Trisha Whitworth. I have been a photographer for 10 years. I own Stella Rose Photography LLC, and I am based out of San Antonio, Texas. Shoot a little bit of everything. I also own Aphrodite's Experience. It's a women's empowerment company, and I host retreats where we travel all over. And each retreat, ladies will receive a boudoir. So there's kind of the two different sides to my business. I am also a mother to three beautiful little girls and a wife. And yeah, this is my full-time job. I absolutely love it. I've always been an artist. I never thought photography would be my chosen medium, but I it's changed my entire life, and I absolutely love it.
Well, I've seen your work, so yeah, I can see that you absolutely love it. It's
Well,
fantastic.
I had a my first ever mentorship or training was with you. And I remember you took me from auto mode to manual, and you said, because I was like the only one in the class that was still shooting. This was literally like my first year. I was the only one still shooting auto, and you were like, listen, once we change it to manual, you better not change it back to auto ever. I was like, okay. And I never did.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Trisha.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm going to bring you back here in just a second. I'm going to bring
Okay.
Cecilia on. Let's see. Cecilia, how are you doing
Hello.
today?
I am doing well. So
I'm
my
so
name is
glad you're here.
thank you. I'm glad to be here. So my name is Cecilia Barlow. I am out of the hill country, so I live in Comfort, but do a lot of my work in Kerrville and Bernie area. So I went to college for photography. So I have 2 degrees in photography, a BFA and an MFA, and have been an educator for many years. I spent 20 years in the higher ed academia. So my main focus is portraiture, that's like family photos. I do a lot of minis, and I think the hardest thing is this is my time of year that I do river minis. And to watch the place where I find sacred, uh, and seen so many families laugh and giggle hurts so much, has been hard. Um, what else? I am a mother. I have she's soon to be 10. I am a wife. And I am not a native Texan, so I'm from Virginia, but have been in Texas for a long time and love Texas. And I think that's everything in a nutshell.
Got here as quickly as you could, right?
Yes. I was 12, and the funny thing is, as soon as my plane landed and my parents drove me through Denton, I looked at Texas Women's University, who's got the big towers, and I pointed at them, and I looked at my mom and said, "I will go to school there," at the age of 12. And I got my BFA there, and then I got my MFA at UNT.
Wow. So we can count on you. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Love that. Uh, well, I'm going to. I think that Justin is coming on. He's been communicating with me, but he hasn't logged on just yet. So when he is, I'll bring him on to introduce himself. But I'm just going to move right into the questions, and I guess I should. Well, Justin was going to get the first question, so I'm going to switch to Trisha and give her that first question. So I'll bring you right back here in just a few minutes. Thank you for being here, Cecilia. All right, Trisha, you got the first question, and I'll
Okay.
put that on the screen so everybody else can see it too. All right. So as portrait photographers, we've all had sessions that felt deeply meaningful. Can you share a moment when you realized just how much your work mattered?
Yeah. So when I read this question, just so many moments pop into my head, but I think what always stands out to me is my boudoirs. I've had women cry and in the middle of the session with full hair and makeup in lingerie just break down and say, I haven't felt beautiful in so long. And, they're like, my husband tells me, sure, but I haven't believed it until this moment. I've had women do before and after mastectomies for cancer, and they're reminded of their beauty throughout the entire process. And even women who were leaving domestic violence, there's bruises on them heading to court saying, this this empowered me. This gave me exactly what I needed to be brave enough to go into this and do what I needed to do. So those types of moments for me, when there's something that ignites within the women, really remind me of how powerful these photo shoots can be and how important they are to continue to, want to encourage women to do these kind of shoots so that they can have these moments of like just a reminder of what they're capable of, whatever aspect that is.
Yeah. Do you feel that it's always been that way, or do you think you have evolved in that direction over time because of the example that you shared, but also others that probably too numerous to mention, and tell me how that evolution has come about. What's changed in you?
Oh man, I think they definitely each session definitely changes me. I'm reminded as well the importance of, especially, everyone should fill their cup, but mothers tend to take the back seat a lot, and they can come to a point where they don't recognize themselves, or they are so running on fumes that they don't have anything left to give. In these moments, as a mother, I'm reminded myself it's okay to go, something maybe seems silly, like go have coffee by yourself, or maybe it, take on a new hobby, or just continue to grow and pour into you just as much as you pour into your work or your family, your husbands, your circle, your life. It's so important to just continue to grow, like fill your cup. And they definitely remind me that all the time because it's easy to forget. You just kind of can run on fumes sometimes. So I always just kind of try to take my own advice, I guess, if
Easier
that
said
answered the
than done.
question. Sorry.
Yeah, I said, is that easier said than done? Taking your own advice?
1000%, of course
Yeah,
it is, yeah. Even,
me
like,
too.
when I leave on my escapes, I'm always, like, flooded with mom guilt, like, "Oh, I have to leave the kids," and, my sister who does hair and makeup for me at all my escapes, she's like, "Trisha, they're fine every time, and you come back feeling amazing and empowered and ready to take everything on," and so, even, like, I've done it I don't even know how many I've done, like, 14 throughout the years, and still I have to remind myself. I know.
Love it. Thank you for that, Trisha. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring Cecilia on, and I'll bring you back here in just a bit.
Okay.
All right,
Hello.
Cecilia, Same question for you. So, and I'll put it back on the screen. As portrait photographers, we've all had sessions that we felt like were deeply meaningful. So, can you share a moment where you realized just how much your work mattered?
Um, so I have a family that I've been photographing for a while, and they're probably one of my favorites. And they struggled with IVF and had lost a few babies. And they had pregnant and had a beautiful baby boy. And now he is 7, and I have gotten to watch them grow. So most of mine is not just one session, but it's the whole watching them grow through the process. So, photographing a wedding and then them calling me for their newborn and then calling me for their first birthday and becoming like family, not so much just my clients, but they're like family. So with this flood coming on, you wouldn't believe it brought joy to my heart to have so many of them call and text me and say, "Hey, are you okay?" They might not live in the area that I do, but they wanted to make sure that I was okay. Also, I weddings are big for me, and a lot of times people will try to rush through things when it comes to weddings, and I want them to pause for a second and take it all in and make sure that we get those portraits of the husband and wife. I actually had the privilege of photographing my brother-in-law's wedding a couple weeks ago, which was actually really nice. Um, so mine is just the connection within time, them inviting me into their lives and continuously inviting me into their lives and seeing them every year. And when I don't see them for a year or so, I actually wonder about them and make hope that they're okay and hope that things are going well. Uh, so that's where mine is.
Yeah. We all have these stories, these things that we can relate to when it comes to this. I think we all go into photography knowing that it has value, that it's got meaning. But until we've had some uh, experiences, I don't think we understand to what degree those that meaning is, or how much our work matters.
And I try to explain to my brides and things, you're spending all this money on your venue, but at the end of the day, what are you going to have left? When you leave here, what is going to be the one thing that you have? And it's going to be your photos. You're not going to have your venue anymore because it goes back, but you're going to have probably your bouquet and your photos. So
Yep.
we've documenting their lives.
That's right. I agree. All right. So next question is going straight to you. How do you define the role of a portrait photographer in people's lives?
Okay, I wrote up a little thing, but I think I'm just gonna wing it. This one actually really hit with me. So my role is not just a photographer, but my role is to document it. It's far beyond just taking the pictures, but it's their stories. It's their scars. It's them, the family pictures that they'll have after. I hope it never happens, but it will. The grandparent passes away. It's their last photograph with them. It's from moms holding their babies to seniors stepping into adulthood and those quiet little glances between a husband and wife. I always send the quirky photos that of their kid making funny faces because that's their kid. And that might not be the one that they want on their wall, but when their kid is 30, um, that's what I want to see is my daughter sticking her tongue out at me, being silly. Um, it's documenting their lives, and I get to walk alongside them in their journey, and it warms my heart to see them make my pictures their profile pictures, and it's a privilege. So, it's not just a job, but it's a privilege that they've invited me into their lives. They could have chosen anybody else, but they chose me to be a part of their lives, which is huge for me.
Yeah. I mean, it is huge. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. So uh, Justin is here, so I'm going to bring him on next. I'll see you back here in just a few moments. Thank you, Cecilia. Well, Justin, you are live on the Portrait Prophet Show. How are you doing?
Good, y'all.
I'm doing well. Hey, could you? I already told them that you've been working and volunteering all day, and came in right at the last second just so you could, show to be here on the show to share your thoughts. Can you tell us before I ask you any of the prepared questions? Can you tell us a little bit about you and maybe your family, maybe about your philosophies, maybe not too much philosophies because the questions will cover that, but about what kind of work you do and family, any kind of information so we know who you are.
So I'm Justin Tenney, and photography is not my, I guess, full-time job. It's a hobby, actually. Um, I'm a software programmer slash technician for a company called Local Government Solutions. We do court software for JPs and all that stuff. So that's mainly my work during the day, and then during the evening, that's when I do my photography stuff, and or lately it's been volunteering. So that's pretty much me. And then I got a wife and 3 kids. My oldest is 21, my youngest is 16, and then my middle child is 19, and he just joined the Navy, so he's up in the Great Lakes doing his boot camp. And so I've lived in comfort majority of my life, except for when I went to college uh, up there in A&M, and then came back here. And that's where I've been living my life. My kids all graduate. Well, 2 of them graduated from Comfort. I graduated from Comfort in 04. And so that's pretty much basically what I do. I do a lot of sports photography for the schools. And so all the yearbook photos from sports and all that is that's what I do. I give them to the school for their yearbook and all that. So
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for letting us know that you are part-timers. There's a lot of photographers who are part-timers who have some
yeah,
other kind of regular thing that they do, full-time job, and they do photography evenings, weekends, whenever they get a chance. So it's their side gig, not necessarily their main thing. Obviously, they love it, or they
yeah,
wouldn't do it. But
yeah.
thank you for sharing that with us, so that we had an understanding of what it is that you do. So here's a question for you. Uh, Let me put the question on the screen. So, how do you define the role of a portrait photographer in people's lives?
Like, okay, so for example, you talking about like whenever they, I don't know how to explain it.
So, I look at a portrait photographer as being huge in a person's life because it's one of the few things that lasts. Let's say
Oh
you're a
yeah,
wedding photographer. What lasts? It's not the thousands or tens of thousands you spent on the venue and the food. It's the photographs. It's really one of the
correct.
few things that actually last beyond. And so that would be a wedding, not necessarily a portrait, but still I elevate portrait photography. I even elevate portrait photography higher than a doctor. And part of that reason is, I know that sounds odd, but I do. The reason is because what they do ends when someone passes. What
Correct.
you do as a portrait photographer continues after someone has passed. And to me,
Yeah.
that is pretty powerful. So how do you feel about that?
So I mean, it definitely does make an impact in people's lives, and I mean, along with so many photographers around here that have created so many historical photos of what's happened, especially around here in the hill country.
Yeah,
My brother passed a while back, and
sorry to hear
just
that.
just the photos leading up to that, just like like you said, it just lasts forever. Like you're able to go back and just close your eyes and be able to see like, hey, I remember that day, or I remember that time, and just like a moment in time that's just paused. Or, for example, sporting events when that team wins the district championship or a playoff game, and you're right there capturing the excitement and the just the momentum of those kids. It's just like, I mean, yeah, it does create an impact in someone's lives. Just that moment, you don't think it creates the moment. Like, you just, like you said, you're capturing hundreds of thousands of photos within a time range, and then that one photo somebody sees and it just makes their day or makes their month or makes their year. Or 5 years down the road, they look at that photo and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember that day. So yeah, I mean, definitely photographers make a huge impact in today's society. I mean, not just today's society, all throughout history. I mean, you can look at magazines and all that and capture so many portraits that have been taken and be like, oh yeah. So
We think we've got good memories, but it is the photographs that bring it back up. It's kind of like it's not in RAM memory, it's in some storage area somewhere
mhm,
else, and that photograph is the path that causes you to be able to relive that and bring that memory back. So I'm glad you brought it
yeah,
up that way. Well,
yeah,
thank you for that, Justin. I'm gonna ask the same question now of Trisha, and I'll bring you back here in just a minute.
yeah.
All right, Trisha, the same question to you. How do you define the role of a portrait photographer in people's lives?
I always say I'm a storyteller, and
Mm,
I always include the standing and smiling pictures, but you can ask any of my clients, we literally just play and cuddle the whole time. Um, I
love
get
it.
all in their space. I will get probably too close, but it's I mean, they all if you book me, you probably just know me and know how it's gonna go. I I do understand, just like you said, that these pictures will long outlive them. So I want to make sure that you don't just have a picture of your mom or your dad or your kids, your, like your dad as a child. You kind of get an idea of what they were like. And it really means so much to me being on this journey with all of my clients. I call some of the kids like I'm their photographer auntie because I watch them literally grow up. And, one minute you're doing their, I don't know, family pictures and their like little kids in their jammies. And then the next thing they're graduating. You're like, when did my baby grow up? Like you really just become a part of their lives. And I just love being able to tell their stories.
Yeah, love that. Thank you for sharing that too. I appreciate it. All right, so next question is for you, and I'm going to put that up on the screen so everybody else can see it. Uh, have you ever experienced a client that you have photographed that has passed away?
Yes, I
And
have.
how
I'm
did
sorry.
tell us also how oh, no, you're good. So, tell us also how did you first hear about it, and what was your immediate reaction? In the next question, I'm gonna ask, what did you actually do? But in this one, just the initial reaction of
Yeah.
that situation.
So I've had clients that have passed away suddenly, as well as clients who I have taken their photos knowing it was because they were passing away and these were their last moments. Um, I think both of them hurt obviously. When it's sudden, it's kind of it's harder to know what the right thing to do is, but you just kind of I don't know, you feel very much like you're sad with the family. You feel like the loss. You feel the loss. I think when I am shooting end of life sessions, um, when I get the news or because the clients will let me know with my end of life sessions, thank you so much for the pictures. We did lose this person, and these pictures mean so much to us, and we'll treasure them forever. I cry with them because I was a part of this moment that brought them together in a really intimate setting, in an intimate way, and I felt like I was just kind of like a piece of that last connection for them. And that may sound um, a little bit of a stretch, but it just doesn't feel that way. I feel very much pulled in and a part of it. So I'm very, very sad when I hear that the clients have passed.
Yeah, even when you know, it's still we still
Yeah,
have um, that strong emotional connection because you built a connection with them. You
yeah.
got to know them. You know who they are, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're proud of,
Mhm.
what they're looking towards, even if they know what's coming, which, they
Yeah,
may not be looking towards a whole lot of future, but they also are looking about their family, and they're sharing those kind of things with you. So you feel for them, and
I
you
do.
probably are holding back tears during a session where
I try
what's
my
coming.
best, I do. But sometimes you're just so overcome with, I mean, it's so raw, and you do
Mm.
have to just kind of allow yourself to be in there with them in that really, really intimate, special, beautiful, it is sad, but it can be so beautiful to be in that room with them while they're holding each other. You see their tears. I mean, you can't help, you're a human. You can't help but feel the love and the connection and carry that with you when you leave.
Thank you for sharing that. I
Mhm.
appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna ask that same question now, Cecilia, so I'll see you back in just a minute.
Okay.
All right, Cecilia, I've got that same question for you. Have you ever experienced a client that has passed away? Let me, for our viewers, make sure I define client correctly. That's anyone who has been in front of your camera. I'm not saying the person who paid or the decision maker necessarily, but anyone who's been in front of your camera. And if you have, what was your immediate reaction? And if you haven't had that experience, then what do you think it might be?
So when I first came in, we chatted for a couple minutes before I said that I hadn't, and I sat here and I thought about it, and I have. Um, I had a mother pass away from cancer with a young son, and the whole time I was checking up on her with her sister, so she had become family. She'd become a friend, and it hurts. It's hard, and the grief and the pain and the fact that she had a baby that she left behind, a little boy that's the same age of my daughter. I used to joke with her and say that he was gonna marry my daughter. It's like it's her future husband. So, first reaction is grief, and a little bit of anger, because, like, losing people is hard. I've lost quite a few people in my life, and trying to understand why it was them and why they were so young and how their poor family got left there behind while they got to go off to a better place.
It's interesting how I forget stuff all the time, and then
Yeah.
something brings it back. And there's times when I thought, well, I've never experienced that, and then stop and think about it, and well, maybe I have. So I understand that completely. I, I've been doing photography for a long time, so probably not surprised that I've experienced that. I'm not going to really go into any stories because this is about you guys. But when those things happen, it's pretty raw, especially when you form that connection, especially when you made that, you may have made it jokingly, but still, that's my daughter's future husband.
Yeah.
Clearly, you liked them, or you wouldn't have said something like that. So yeah, that has it definitely. We're emotionally connected to
And
the
it's
people that
hard
we
to
work with.
understand loss.
Mm,
So I have lost my mother, father, and big sister, all three of them.
yeah,
And um,
sorry.
it's not easy to process, and it can take years to process. Um, and I feel what they feel. I empathize with them, and I do cherish the photos that I have of my family that were left, and I know that they have to cherish them, and I'll wait for the next question what for that, but what happened, so I'll let you talk to Justin.
All right, cool. Thank you for that, Cecilia. I'll see you in just a minute. All right. So bringing Justin back on. Uh, Justin, you mentioned earlier that your brother uh, passed away. I can't imagine. Cecilia mentioned that that her mother,
Yeah.
father, and older sister have passed away. So you guys are feeling, you know what this is all about, and I'm sure that the photographs you have some kind of an impact on you. So I'm curious about that side of things if you want to share it, but I'm also curious if you've had a client that has passed away, and if so, share that immediate reaction.
So yeah, like okay, so like my brother, for example, we celebrated his birthday a week before, and I took the camera out there to the river just to take photos and of him and his boys and his girlfriend, and um, you just never know. And then the next week it happens, and you're just like those photos that you're still editing, like it just like happens, and you're just like you don't know how to react and whatnot. But then clientele wise, I had a student, well, not my student, but we had a student in Comfort ISD that passed away of a seizure, and we took picture. I mean, he was the manager of the basketball team. He was in band, and during that time he passed away was during basketball season, and we were just at a game 2 days before, and you're just like you capture like they were saying before, you're a storyteller. Well, I'm kind of the same way, and it doesn't matter if they're playing or they're sitting down, and you capture their, I guess, their moment, like their feelings at that moment. And it was of him, Manny, sitting there with his teammates, and like when that happened, that's all you could think about is like that moment before when you were in front of them, and it happened so sudden. Or like Cecilia said, that you go take a picture of a family that's about to lose someone, and I recently got to do that, but they haven't passed yet. But I can just imagine how that family's going to feel, because cancer is just such a deadly, horrible thing for somebody to experience, and how I'm going to react to that. I mean, I know their daughter from softball, but I'm not really close to that family, and so I mean, it's going to be like a sudden thing, and more likely they're going to tell me about it because of me taking their photos. But it's just like to experience death as a photographer is just a different aspect, because you captured a memory of the death, or not of the death, but of the person before that experience happened for that family. And so, like all the pictures that I took of Manny before, we made a big collage thing of for the family, or his brother and his mom. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to experience that a lot of people don't want to experience, but I mean, obviously we have to because we were part of it, you know. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, man, it's tough. So
yeah.
tell me about those. This is the next question. What emotions came up for you, and how did you process them before deciding what you were going to do next? Maybe that was reaching out to them, or um, what, what were you feeling, and how did that affect what you did next?
So with Manny, it was anger really because of how it happened, and he was
Mm,
so young, and you're just like anybody that dies so young, you're just
yeah.
it's horrible to experience because they had such a bright future ahead of them. And but yeah, I did contact the mom because we knew the mom beforehand, and so I contacted her about like a couple days later, asking how she was doing, and then she's the one that brought up pictures, and that's when we could start talking about memories of him. And I brought up that I have a bunch of them of him that I'm going to send to her, and so that really brightened her day at that moment. And so that's another aspect of being a photographer is sometimes you can brighten someone's day at the worst moment because of what you did. So
Yeah, I agree. And I'm picturing the things that I've experienced before. I did a show last week on this, and my normal shows is just me sharing a lesson. But one of the things that I shared was how a mom reacted uh, at a memorial service where I brought photographs. Now she knew I was going to be doing it, but she hadn't seen them yet. Uh,
mhm.
but when I brought those photographs, it empowered her.
Yeah.
I could say more, but I'm just going to leave it at that. She was strengthened at that moment, which
Yeah.
it, I was in a moment like that. Thrilled has got to be the wrong word, but considering I was thrilled to see her reaction.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's definitely a word to use because at that moment of some pictures that I shared it with Manny, it gave her a chuckle. I mean, because he was a goofy kid, and so yeah, it brought a smile to her face. So,
Nice.
I mean, to be able to do that for somebody is definitely something that carries along with you
Yeah.
and makes you kind of keep wanting to do it
Oh yeah.
because you're making an impact in somebody's life.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate it, Justin.
yep.
All right, I'll bring you back here in a moment. And I'm going to ask the same question now of Trisha. So, Trisha, what emotions came up for you? You've shared stories. How did you process those emotions before deciding what it is that you were going to do next?
Um, so I have a very strong support system, and I tend to invite them in during those times because, you have to just make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well in those moments because it's so difficult. I'll reach out to my sister and go through that kind of sad moment with her, like, cry on the phone with her, and just if you're a photographer out there, don't be afraid to just mourn and cry about your clients. It's not weird. We're human beings. Um, I did reach out to every client, of course, but um, just kept it light and casual. I'm so sorry to hear. Um, and then for clients who I've actually known personally, who I've been asked to shoot their end of life, their family members' end of life sessions, I really feel connected to it. And what's always really, really powerful is when you attend or see pictures of, or even send, sometimes clients will send you that they use the pictures that you took on their, um, they're just in large prints right by caskets or on, I forget, like the booklets that they hand out. And you really are just pulled into the whole process. And I know you're not thinking like, oh yeah, that's my work, as you would normally. You're thinking like, man, I'm here. I'm a part of this. This is real. Like what we're doing is real. So it just, you really are so connected to your clients, and especially in these moments, just to what's happening, just a part of their life.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring them in and talk about it. I hadn't heard anyone say that before, so I like that.
Which part? The
About bringing people in to talk about it, the
Oh
strong support
yeah.
system.
Yeah, because I mean when you leave, it's so heavy, and you're left with this. You get to your car, you put your camera bag down, you just kind of sit there, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And that's when you can cry. That's when everything just kind of hits you, and you can take off your photographer hat for a bit, and then you just have to find your support system to help you, you know, continue on, because that's what life is. That's what the world's doing, continuing on.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Trisha.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. I'm going to bring Cecilia on now. Cecilia, so tell me about those emotions. How did you process them? What did you go through? How did you decide what it was you were going to do next?
So first, it's sadness, overcoming sadness. I'm a bottle it up and like get her done type of person. Okay, what needs to be like we're crisis mode. This needs to be done first, and then put to the side. I think it takes a while for me to process it. Give myself some time. I'm an action person, so I spend my time like, what can we do to fix this? What can we do to move forward? Um, and then after a while is when the sadness comes. It really just depends on how close to the client was. I photographed a friend of mine's wedding, and the girlfriend of the cousin passed away, and I had known her for a while. And at that point, what I decided is I went through all the photos because I'd taken her photos before of her and her daughters and sent them to them. Um, Normally, I won't release a link to something to any photos that I've taken to somebody else, but in this case, I released it to her daughters, and it brought them joy, and hopefully it will ease the pain a little bit. Knowing loss myself, I want to give people their space. I'm a person that when I'm grieving, I need my space, and I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry in front of people. So I try to be respectful of boundaries, like how much do I give? How much, like, where is that? And it just really depends on the situation. But I give them some time.
Sounds like a good plan. So, when you do call or text message, send a card, email, what is it that you uh, was it that you decided to do or say, and how did you communicate with them?
Depends on the relationship with the client. So if it's somebody that I'm really close with, like I would consider, and it's funny because my clients end up becoming friends.
Yes.
They're I still take their pictures and they pay me to take their picture, but they're friends. So if it's that type of relationship there, I'll call them, and deciding what to say really just comes from the heart. I speak from the heart, give them time to speak and hear what they have to say and what they need. So I try to fill out what the situation is and not overbearing and talk too much about it, but let them talk and clear it off with me. Um, Normally I try to wait for a few weeks after. And I know might sound odd, but I do that because in the moment everybody's calling them, everybody's there. But when I lost, speaking from personal loss, when I lost my mom and my sister and my father, it was just a couple weeks afterwards. So after the death, you're in, let's get this done. We need this done. We need this done. We need this done. But 2-3 weeks later, a month later, that person's left with the pieces and they have to pick them up. And now their mind is calm. And that's when I feel like they need the most support personally.
Yeah, so it's kind of a case by case basis on how you react or what you choose to do, what you say. Um, uh, is a call pretty much the direction you probably find yourself going, or is it going to be a handwritten note, or maybe you have some note cards that you could send out, or is it a phone call every time?
For me, it's mostly a phone call. Um, be but it's a couple weeks afterwards. I do mail cards, but I will tell you, like, I have things that sit on my desk that don't get mailed out for like a while. So making it to the post office isn't always my strength in life. But I can pick up a phone and call them. So calling and just giving them time to talk and listen. And I don't do it immediately. I'll send a text message immediately or a comment, Facebook, like that. But I give them a few weeks to process it, because honestly, when it comes to grief and death, and especially if it's like somebody you're super close with, you need time. Because in that moment, you have your family here. They're cooking for you. They're feeding you. But in 3 weeks, what do you have? You have yourself sitting in an empty house trying to figure it out. And that's when I feel like they need the most support.
That makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask that same question now of Justin. So I'll see you in just a little bit. So, Justin, when you did, did you've got your brother, you have the basketball player, I've already forgotten his name. Dang it.
Yeah, Manny. Yeah.
Manny. Did you reach out to the Manny's family, or was that not something you felt was an appropriate thing to do in that situation?
So with them, I reached out. It was like 3 days after.
Yeah.
It was a text, just sharing my condolences. But the day after, well, I mean, I would say the day after, his brother is the one that messaged me on Facebook, letting me know what happened, and because that whole team was close, and so when you shoot sports, especially with high schoolers and middle schoolers, and they know who you are, and so they want to reach out to you also. And his brother had reached out to me and let me know, and I was like, I'm sorry for your loss. And but he knew what I had been through with my brother, so he was almost like reaching out to like almost like a comfort blanket, saying, hey, I want to talk. And so that's how Sammy was with that. And so because his brother was older than him, and so his Sammy was with my nephew, or my cousin, in the same class, and so they were close. And so it was almost like you're friends, but you're not friends. And so yeah, that's kind of bond that photographers make with their clients, and that it's like you're friends, but you're not friends. Like you don't talk all the time, but you're there, and they know you're there. And so that's kind of how it was with them. Yeah, it was, like I said, it was about 3 days. I gave her space, and then reached out to her and said, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss," and gave my condolences. And then she let me know about the funeral stuff. And so, I mean, it's tough being a photographer because of that aspect. Nobody wants to ever go through death, but then being able to capture a memory is what it makes it worth it. So
It's true. Yeah, that's very true. All right. Thank you for that, Justin. I'm going to ask Trisha the same question. I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
So, Trisha, tell me about when you reached out. What was it that you decided to do, and how did you decide to say it?
I was just myself, like I would anyone that I know and care for. Just, I'm so sorry. And, if I knew them, then I let them know that, they will be deeply missed. And I always let them know also that I'm very honored that I was a part of that, like as the photographer. And I think one of the like kind of tick marks under this question was like, did you send a gift? I don't do product sales or in-person sales, anything like that, but I have sent images or gifts, like a blanket with one of my prints or one of my pictures, and I just reach out, just let them know that I'm there with them. I see it, I feel it, and I'm here.
Sounds like something that would work well. All right. So, the next question, I'm starting with you. Let's see. How has experiencing client loss changed the way you see your work as a photographer?
Um, It's difficult because it's just so there's so many ways I can approach this. Like, I feel proud of what I do. It makes me I feel like a lot of times, as artists, you can get written off as, something that's not serious, or, um, just not not seen, like, in high regard. But when you are a part of something that major in people's lives, you can really just tell yourself, "No, this is something incredible that you are doing." And so I do feel that. I also feel like it's just it reminds you just how precious life is, how precious photography is. When I go to my girls' school for career day, one of the things that I tell the students is it's so much more than just pictures. It really is just a piece of everyone that you love that you get to carry forever. And I know prints, like held prints aren't like around really unless you like want them to hang on your walls. But like growing up, we used to have albums that we would flip through, or like shoe boxes full of prints, and you could see like, oh, this is my grandpa or my grandma. Look how young my mom was wearing a crop top. Um, and so I feel like that's the kind of thing that you want to kind of leave behind, is those you can hold a piece of your history, a piece of your loved ones. And it's so important. It really is. And I know that like photographs kind of sometimes in your throughout the year you think, oh, we did them last year, or you did them, we did them, we took the family pictures at Christmas. But because life is so precious and you genuinely just never know when it's your time, I mean, take the pictures, get the pictures done. Just you want those, you'll want those forever. You really will. It's the first thing that you look at normally when someone passes is their photos. So it's you're just a part of something really big.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Trisha. I
you're
appreciate
welcome.
you sharing that. I'm going to ask that same question now of Cecilia. So I'll see you back in a little bit.
Okay.
So, Cecilia, what do you think about this? How has experienced client loss changed the way that you see your work as a photographer?
I feel honored.
Mm,
I was chosen to capture one moment. My shutter, I mean, not even a full sec, like, because shutter speeds are fast, like a fraction of a second. I was chosen to capture that, and now they have it for a lifetime. And watching the floods happen in my area, I'm in all the mom groups and things, and seeing pictures posted and seeing people that I know, um, and tagging them in them, like, because they want their photos back. That's all you have left. Losing my father and losing family members, my daughter and I, she never got to meet my father, so we sit on the floor in the living room and go through photo albums, and she laughs at his afro and giggles, and I show him the wrecker she used to drive. So those are documentation of that moment that we can never get back. I don't think, just it's hard for anybody to see that, or for me, I don't think that people realize how important it is. This is a moment that will never be repeated again. So for me, I feel privileged and honored.
mm. Yeah, I like that. Honored. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask that same question now of Justin. So I'll be back in a moment. Justin, what are your thoughts here on this one? How has experiencing client loss changed the way you see yourself as a photographer?
I mean, it definitely makes you think about your work. It makes you, I mean, as the other ones have said, you're a storyteller. You're able to capture that one moment that will last forever. As Cecilia said, there's so many portraits and photos out there, just scattered all around the hill country, that if found, and they're gonna make that family's day. Or example of someone that just was lost, you're able to find something of theirs, and photos just scattered everywhere. It definitely is definitely heartwarming to be able to be a part of something so, I guess, emotional that I mean it's almost speechless. It's because when you see your work and you see like that one moment that you took, that that person's no longer here on this earth, it leaves you kind of speechless that you were a part of that. You were able to capture something so important to somebody, but then be able to share it. Um, it's definitely leaves you speechless, honestly, because you sit there and you spend so many hours editing something, and you're like, as photographers, you edit so much, but you don't think about what it's gonna do for somebody else. Like I've edited lots of photos that I'm like, that's the shot. I love that shot. And you share it on your Instagram or you share it on Facebook, and it just goes sporadic throughout the internet. Like so many people love your work, but then if you sit down and you know that person is no longer with us, is pretty impactful for someone to witness.
Yeah, definitely is. You mentioned this before, but maybe there's some little bit more. Have you uh, provided or offered a complimentary print for, say, a memorial service? And when you did, how talk about how it was received and what it was you learned from that experience.
I've definitely I've definitely provided photos and printed canvases for families. Um, like Manny, for example, we had a huge 24 by 36 canvas of him that we took. It was when we did the individual and team photos that season, and we made a 24 by 36 canvas for his service. But then we ended up making a coroplast uh, poster, and it's hanging up in the gym right now for everybody to walk by and just remember his happy face of, and all his teammates and cousins. I mean, everybody that knew Manny, they're able to walk by and just see him, and to know that you were part of that, it definitely makes your day. Um, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
That's a that the story about Manny is an impactful one because um, I think that either we've experienced it before ourselves or we can relate to an experience like that. So thanks again for sharing that
Mhm.
story. I'm going to ask that same question now of Trisha. So I'll see you in just a bit.
Okay.
All right, Trisha, what do you feel about this one? Have you offered a complimentary portrait or just given a complimentary portrait for some purpose, for instance, a memorial service? And if so, how was it received? And what did you learn from that experience?
So my gifts have been a little bit more personal. Not I like a blanket is my favorite thing to gift with a photograph because I just feel like wrap yourself around them, kind of like a little hug. Um, I It just varies depending on the client. You know I think it's a very sweet gesture if someone were to give a gift. I think just seeing your images used is definitely an honor throughout the services. But yeah, it's I my go-to has been blankets in the past.
That's a good one. I like that. There's a lot of things that we could do. If sorry for the obvious one is giving them images.
Mhm.
But I also appreciate things that aren't quite as obvious, or that that it wouldn't have crossed your mind. So I like that one. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing
I
it.
think, if I was like the kind of like the IPS type of photographer, then, anything that didn't come with the package, maybe you would include, or any images that weren't purchased, that would be a good idea to add a little bit of extra. But just the way I do it, they get the images, and so my little gifts are just kind of a little little personal, a little bit more for the house.
Cool. Thank you for that. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm going to ask that same question now of Cecilia. So I'll see you back in just a bit.
Okay.
So
Cecilia, what do you think about this one? Have you offered a complimentary print, or maybe something for the memorial service? And how was it received? And
so
did
I
you learn from something from that experience?
I normally don't do prints. I'm like I send digitals. But I've done it before they passed. So the family I was talking about that lost a mother at the sun, um, and I photographed him for Christmas. I called the aunt and I was like, "Can you bring him to my mini sessions? I've got this block, and I know how much his mommy loves photos. Can we do that?" So mine have been on the other or before. And also, I have given a coffee cup. I had a client that loved to drink coffee, and I'm a crafter, and I made them a coffee cup with their sibling that they lost, so they were able to still have their morning coffee with her. But most of the time, mine is before.
And I didn't even think about the times when you know about it ahead of time when I was preparing for this. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's an
And
important one as well.
a lot of times, if I'm in a family session and I see that there's a mother there or a father there that are a little on the older side, I make it a point to have a photo taken with them and each one of their child, because what I wouldn't do to have a photo of me and my daddy or me and my mom. So I make it a point, regardless of where their health is, to say, "Hey, can we do a photo of just you and your dad?" And sometimes the dads are like, "Ugh," but I'm like, "Oh, but this is for them." Also, I try to make it a point that if they are older, to do a portrait of them by themselves, so that if this does happen, God forbid, and I never want this to happen to anybody, but one day it will, that they have something for have that photo, because a lot of times they only have cell phone photos, and
That's right.
cell phones don't do it.
It makes me think of a rule that I had. Now I don't seek out portrait work anymore. I still do it because I have clients that still ask, but I haven't done any marketing since 2018 on it. But one of my rules during that time was uh, and let me give you a specific rule. So this was for high school seniors. It was almost always mom that came with the senior. A lot of times dad didn't come, but if dad was there, he'd have to do this too. But one of my rules was you have to be in a photograph with your child. So I'm not accepting the excuse. I didn't do my hair, Jim. My makeup doesn't look right. I'm not dressed for it. I tell them ahead of time I'm going to be doing this, and I have a really good reason. And if they, I just tell them I'm going to do it. And if they give me any resistance, then I tell them the reason. But I'm going to share that with you right now. The reason is because there was a high school boy that came in with his mom, and uh, I insisted that his mom be in a photograph with him, and she'd said that, "Ah, I didn't do my hair, I didn't do my makeup, I'm not dressed for it." And I said, "Doesn't matter, you look fantastic. Doesn't get in here with him." And so she did, and I'm grateful that I pushed for that, because 3 months later, she was no longer with us. That was the last photograph that she had ever taken with her son.
It hurts. That breaks my heart. And I also, at the end of a senior session, ask mom to jump in. I will, though, take your point and tell them ahead of time. I don't
Okay.
normally tell them ahead of time. Normally, when I'm wrapping up a session, I ask them to take a photo with them. I don't insist, but I think I might now. And I asked them, are there any poses that you still want to do that we missed? But they're gifts. Even if I had no makeup on and I was with a picture with my parent, I would be privileged to have that.
Well, this next question is the last one before closing thoughts. So you guys have another couple on there, but we're not going to have time for them. Uh, what do you think photographers should avoid doing or saying in these situations, whether that's their words, their timing, or their actions?
Ooh, so this is with right now with all the storms and things that are going on. I think that we need to remember that these are humans. Um, we need to have compassion, and we might have opinions on things. But as a photographer, uh, I think about things before I say it, and we really need to be as compassionate as possible. Death is not easy, um, and it's not fair. And stop and think before you post on things, or is what my main thing would be, just thinking and having some compassion for others and understanding that you will be there one day too. I hope that you never are, but most likely we will all lose someone, and we need to be nice about it. So I think it's just watching what you say. Words hurt. They hurt a lot.
Yeah, they do. I wish that wasn't the case, but we feel it.
And a lot of times people want to blame people. So even like car accidents and things like that, they want to blame the other person. And yeah, they very much could be the blaming, like they could be in the wrong, but right after the death is not the time to say those things. Right after the passing is not the time to be arguing with people. Right now, it's time to like send them some love and some compassion and give them time to heal.
It is. You're absolutely right. Thank you for that, Cecilia. I'm going to ask that same question now of Justin, and I'll bring you back for closing thoughts here in just a little bit. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on this one? Have you thought about what is not the right thing to do? So, what do you think photographers should avoid in these situations? Whether that's timing, whether it's the words they use, the actions, the gifts. What do you think they should avoid in this situation?
I mean, I totally 110% agree with Cecilia that you give them their space. Like right now, I have yet to pick up my camera because of all the destruction and the emotions that have been going on in the hill country. And you want to walk up to somebody and have a smile on their face, or smile on your face, should I say, and greet them. But in all, you just want to give them their space too. You want to just be like, hey, as a photographer, you want to be able to capture moments, but then there's a time that, hey, leave your camera at home. There's more important things to do than take photos. And I mean, especially, memorial services, you see some people taking photos of people. I don't think I could do that. Like, I know there's people out there that do, but being in shoes that have lost somebody, like you definitely want your space, and you don't want people to step on your toes, and you feel the same way. You step back and you're like, hey, now's not the time. There will be a time. Just wait. So that's how I kind of see it. Like, just sit back, wait, and then time will come.
You'll feel it. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. I appreciate it, Justin. I'm going to ask that same question of Trisha, and then I'll bring you back on here in just a bit for your closing thoughts. Trisha, oh, did I lose your video? Do I still have your audio?
I can see my little square, my little Let's
It
see.
looks black on mine, but I
It
can hear
does.
you, so at least that. Um, tell me, what should photographers not do? What should they avoid in these situations?
I think what they should avoid is being scared to pose really intimately. Like for end of life sessions, don't be scared to ask, the mom to maybe pick up whoever's, if like dad's passing's hands, and put them on her face. Don't be scared to have her climb in the bed with him and cuddle and hold each other. Or don't be scared to ask a grown son to wrap his arms around his father. They might not have done these things in years, because a lot of times, I mean, surrounding end of life sessions in particular, a lot of the children are grown, and then there's the grandbabies. Obviously, you have to take their limitations into consideration, but I I just have them get right in there and get as close as possible, because they probably haven't just looked into each other's eyes and really just engaged in those intimate, close moments as a family in forever, for lots of reasons, because life moves fast, and because maybe they're scared to hurt each other, or they're scared to feel. And just allowing them to have that raw connection will give them so much, like so many powerful memories right there at the end. And then I think what comes to mind next is, don't just go posting everything just because it's just this incredible powerful picture. Like, be extremely sensitive, and remember that it can be very triggering to just be scrolling and seeing, you know if someone's just passed you crying with them, and or them maybe looking frail and not how you're used to seeing them throughout your life. So make sure that you're also keeping that in mind afterwards. Sometimes some of your best work is never seen, and that's okay.
Thank you for that. As we wrap up this panel, I want to give you an opportunity for some closing thoughts. Uh, if you could share one quick piece of advice for navigating client loss with grace and compassion, what is that going to be?
Oh, one piece of advice for navigating client loss. I don't know, just how you navigate life and loss. It's just with love, and love for them, and knowing that this is just life. Unfortunately, I wish we could all just be here forever. Um, that's not the case. So just give yourself grace, whatever that looks like. If it's crying when you get to your car, if it's calling someone after, allow yourself to feel, and just know that it's life, and what you're doing is really, really impactful.
Thank you for that, Tricia, and thank you for being here today and sharing your advice, your experiences. Really, really helpful. I appreciate it. I'm going to bring you back in just a little bit when I bring everyone on to say thank you, but thank you for sharing your thoughts and opinions.
Thank you.
Let's see. I'm going to bring on Justin next. All right, Justin, just an opportunity to wrap up with one piece of advice for navigating client loss with grace and compassion.
Just know you're doing something important in somebody's life, even even though you don't feel like you sometimes do. Just know that you are doing something that's going to mean something to somebody somewhere. I mean, that's kind of how I see it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's now or later. You're gonna do something that is gonna impact somebody somewhere down the road or some. Yeah,
Making an impact. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. Thank you, Justin, for taking time out to be on the show today to uplift other photographers, to help them get through this. I know you've been volunteering to help out with things that are going on in your area right now. So I know that taking time out to do this wasn't an easy thing, but I know you care about other photographers and you wanted to help them out. So thank you for uplifting other photographers and being with us here this evening.
Yes, sir. Thanks for
I'm going to
having
bring
me.
you back. Yeah, of course. I'm going to bring you back here in a second when I bring all three of you on to say thank you. But I'm going to bring Cecilia on to share her closing thoughts. Cecilia, can you share with us a piece of advice for navigating client loss?
I would agree with Trisha, sorry, and you don't need to advertise what you've done. You don't need to post their pictures of their moments. Give them some time and be graceful about it. And most of all, respectful and kind is my main thing, is just think before you speak, and we don't have to post every picture.
Sounds. We all have different reactions to things like this, and we may think, well, there's no wrong reaction. On the surface, that's probably true, but we also have to consider how other people feel, and you mentioned that before. Because there are certain things I've seen some things that photographers have done. I'm thinking of one in particular that was very kind, very thoughtful, but it was received incorrectly, and they got a lot of, we'll call it, hate for it. But it was because of misunderstanding, not because of reality. But people like to blame someone. People like to have someone to put that extra emotional energy towards. So while all of our thoughts are good, we've really got to think through what it is that we're doing, and make choices based on really thinking things through. So I'm glad you brought up the suggestions that you just gave us, and the thoughts and experiences that you've had throughout this discussion today.
I think putting yourself in their shoes is going to be important. You need to, I know posting that picture might be, but like you said, it was taken wrong with that photographer, but you need to look at it from every angle before you do something. So think about it. What is the worst way that this could be taken, and what is the best way? And always protect your clients. My clients are my friends. I care about them deeply, and I would never want to hurt them intentionally. But you just need to see all sides and just know that a phrase could be taken out of context and seen
That's right.
to damage control before, and then that's going to be hard to come back from.
Yeah, it is. That's right. That's exactly right. So thank you so much, Cecilia, for being here. I'm going to bring on the other two and thank you guys all as a group. But before I do that, I wanted to say thank you for being here. You've always been a good person to reach out to, and people can count on you for advice, or at least an ear. And so I want to say I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Let me bring everybody else on. So bring on Trisha and Justin. Man, you guys rock. You are amazing. I really appreciate you taking time to be here today. You've got other things going on. You sacrificed something to be here because you wanted to uplift other photographers. And as someone whose full-time job that is, I appreciate you for doing that kind of thing.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
You guys are awesome.
It was a privilege.
I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to take you guys off. Thank you so much for being here. They are fantastic, aren't they? Today's conversation touched on something every portrait photographer needs to hear, What we do isn't about capturing smiles or even creating art. It's about preserving love. It's about anchoring memories. It's about creating something that will outlast us all. There is no perfect formula for navigating loss, but there is a truth that came through loud and clear from our panelists. When grief enters a family story, the portraits we've made for them become priceless treasures, and so does the way we choose to show up for them. If something you heard today stirred your heart, sparked an idea, or challenged how you think about your role, don't set it aside. Reflect on it, write it down, share it in the comments, but carry it with you, because how you prepare now will shape how you respond later, with thoughtfulness, with confidence, with compassion. Take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments, your wisdom, your honesty, your care for what was shared today, what your thoughts are. Hit that like button, hit that love button to show your appreciation. Post a comment saying, thanks, guests, the panelists, I really appreciate you being here. Trisha, Cecilia, and Justin, your willingness to speak from experience, to be vulnerable and generous with your insights, reminds us all that this work carries weight, a power, and it extends far beyond the camera. And so I really thank our panelists for being with us here today. As you know, the portrait photography, the Portrait Prophet show is every single Monday, and of course, I invite you to come to each one of the Portrait Prophet shows. We put a lot of work into it, and it is beneficial information for photographers. Uh, we do this every single Monday. All of them are at noon, with the exception of the second Monday of each month, like today, where we bring on panelists. And the reason why we move it to 6:30 in the evening, well, that's because it's easier to get panelists in the evening than it is during the middle of the day. That's the only reason. Otherwise, we have it at at noon on every single Monday. Now, if you guys need some help with this or anything else regarding photography, and of course, I suggest that you reach out to me. I'll put the address up one more time, just in case you didn't get it at the beginning. And if you haven't already, hit the hashtag or enter hashtag live in the comments, letting me know that you're watching the show here today live. Here's the address in case you want to reach out to me. It's free. It's 15 minutes of a private session, and anyone can do this. Just let me know by putting yourself on my calendar. All right. As you know, the Portrait Prophet show is every single Monday at noon. So let me tell you about the upcoming shows. In 1 week from today, let me put that over there. We're doing a topic called "It's Not the Gear, It's You." If new equipment could guarantee growth, upgrades would guarantee success. But it doesn't, because clients don't book you because you bought a new camera. The good news, it's not your gear. The bad news, it's probably you that's the problem. Well, the better news is that you can actually do something about that. We'll isolate what moves your business forward and identify what's just keeping you busy. Let me put that banner on the screen. 1 week from today, July 21st at noon. It's not the gear, it's you. And then 1 week after that, this is going to be a fun one. Even the dog looked at me funny. You know, sometimes you just felt off. It builds for a while, sometimes. Other times it just pops up, and occasionally it feels like everybody knows it. Even the dog seems to notice, you know, when they tilt their head, they give you the side eye. My dog's over here doing that right now. We're looking at the small or unexpected signals. By the way, that's my dog on the screen right now. That's Gray, and he is looking at me. Oh, now he's smiling at me. He knows what time it is, and it's time for us to play, according to him. So we're going to be looking at the small or unexpected signals that tell us it's time to adjust. Not necessarily because something's wrong, but because something's now ready for attention. That is July 28th at noon. Make sure you're putting these on your calendar. That way you don't forget. On August 4th at noon, silent posts. And this is why your posts are ignored and what to do about it. So if your posts are getting ignored or not getting the attention that you want, it's not always because of the content. It's sometimes other things. There's a lot of things that it could be. But in this episode of the Portrait Profit Show, we're talking about how to fix what I call silent posts, that well-meaning social media post that gets little to no engagement. So whether you're posting about a limited time offer, a new studio space, mini sessions, a personal project, this episode will make sure your post actually reaches your ideal clients. And I'll tell you about one more because it's the next panel discussion. It's called How I Use Social Media. Now, some of you watching right now are probably, that's what I thought I came to watch today. Yeah, that's what was scheduled for today. But recent events caused a change to the subject that we did do today. But on August 11th, photographers use social media for many different reasons. In this conversation, working pros walk through the approaches that align with their values, their clients, and the kind of business they are building. You'll hear what they focus on, what they've changed over time, and how they've shaped social media into a tool that supports their work. Again, put this on your calendar. You're busy. You've got a lot of things going on. You're going to forget about this unless it's on your calendar. Noon every single Monday, with the exception of the second Monday of each month, like this one, on August 11th at 6:30, How I Use Social Media. Lens Legends. What we talked about today, well, it wasn't an easy subject. But it's one of the most important conversations that we can have as photographers. You know that this work that we do isn't just about capturing beautiful images. You know this because it's about preserving love. It's about anchoring memories and creating echoes of life that remain long after all of our lives. Thanks again to Trisha, Cecilia, and Justin for sharing your wisdom and experiences so openly. Your insights today will help photographers everywhere step into this role with more clarity, compassion, and confidence. And I want to thank you, Lens Legends, for your time and attention today. I encourage you to join me for our next live stream 1 week from today. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, my name is Jim Landers, and I bring you the weekly Portrait Profit Show. Until next time, Lens Legends, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep making your mark in the world. I look forward to watching you grow. You know, I think you're amazing. Bye for now.